Um, Good afternoon, everyone. So I don't know if I'm coming across. Um, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can anyone
Yes, we can hear
indicate?
you.
Great, great. So well, thank you very much, Innocent, for the introduction. So you've actually saved me, a whole lot of like rigmaroling, especially in that part where you have to sort of like line up all the list of things that I do. Yeah. So first of all, let me say that I think that this is really a laudable initiative, and I'm really looking forward to what will come out of such intentions going forward, and that it's also Innocent that is putting this together, especially because I've been working with Innocent for the past 6 years now. So I'm really happy that he's taking it upon himself um, to begin a project like this, which I think is really timely and important. That said, today I'll be talking about Invisible Borders, Trans-African Project in relation to the concept of relation, that is, of connection, of collectivity, of exchange. So, and I was thinking in my head, prior to this day, I was thinking of how I would make my presentation, and I was thinking that I would like to go with something much more anecdotal. So basically, talking about personal experiences, or rather, beginning from personal experiences. I always like to say, whenever I talk about invisible, I would like to begin from, saying that this is a project that came of age the second decade of 21st century. But even before that, I started my career as a photographer, as a visual artist, and really at the beginning of the 21st century in 2001. That was when I encountered photography as an art form. But what's interesting is that it was in Lagos. I sort of like migrated from the east of Nigeria to the west of Nigeria, which is Lagos. And immediately I found myself in this ecosystem of artists and photographers who are working together. And back then it was, you wouldn't find a photography school, like a formal photography school or a form, where you learn photography. So immediately that ecosystem became the school for many of us who wanted to use photography as a form of expression, as a form of social commentary. And of course, the makeup of that ecosystem are the likes of Uche James Siroha, Uncle Jide that is here now listening, Uncle B, Akimbode Akimbi, Don Baba, T.Y. Bello, Amaze Ojekere, Pa Ojekere, so many people then who are working, who were already playing with this idea of photography as an art form. But soon enough, I realized that became possible because we were just coming out of the military dictatorship. Excuse me. Back then, we're coming out of the military dictatorship. And so it felt like it was ripe for people to really express themselves. So I found myself in this ecosystem. And right away, I would go to France to study at the Fine Art School of Paris. Already a photographer because I've had my first exhibition at the Bamako Festival. And then getting to France, I realized that, the conversations around art, around photography, around everything, while, all the resources and all the amenities were there to practice photography proper, much more than I had experienced, in a place like Lagos. The conversation that was happening within the medium excluded, my reality. And there were many young artists then, Kudus Onikeku and so many of them. Kudus was a dancer. he is a dancer, but he was studying dance. Also, at the same time, I was studying at at the Fine Art School of Paris. He was somewhere 2 hours away from Paris, studying, and it was always, like a source of concern for us. How do we really push this conversation to, to our reality? The more we ask those questions, the more we realize that, it's important that we come back, or rather, we begin to think about the continent. As a matter of fact, I like to say that I discovered Africa when I left, Nigeria and came to Europe. That was when I discovered Africa. But, within Nigeria, we all talk about ourselves. You wouldn't even know anything about Cameroon, that is next door, Republic of Benin. I think it's still the same way till today, with a little bit of sort of like maybe some improvement in with regards to more knowledge about other countries, other neighboring countries in Africa. So the idea of Invisible Borders as a project, as a trans-African project, came from this need to, first of all, exchange and understand the continent. This whole notion of interacting, of because we back then we were talking about, Pan-Africanism had made it possible for us to talk about African unity all the time. So it was a mantra, but many of us didn't even understand what that meant. It's enough to say African unity and then we move on. But what is the content of that unity? And so these are the questions we were asking. And that was how Invisible Borders came to be. But it was a project that's very much rooted in the notion of the collective. But again, as time passed within the project, we realized that, or at least for me, I realized that what's most important is not, that outward, or should I say, that very obvious notion of the collective, but to begin to think seriously about really connecting. For a long time, or the way we understand the continent, the African continent, or the way we have it's always been talked about, is that that we do not have history, because because many things were not documented. Many things were not documented. So this notion of interacting and preserving connections between each other became very important in the project. So the way I think of the way I think of the collective within the Invisible Borders project is not a prosaic one. It is the one that accounts for posterity, the one that says that, okay, you can collaborate with even those who have passed on, and I think that this part is very important in the way that, in the way that we think in Invisible Borders. Another thing again is that, I don't know, is it, Innocent, is it possible for me to share my screen?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so I just want to, before, again, because I am one person who does, in my mind, I'm very disjointed in the way I think, in the way I am. So before I digress too much, let me ground all of this in something tangible by showing you. So I think I will do share. Okay. So is it up?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, great. So one of the most prominent aspect, or prominent form of uh, the Invisible Borders Trans-African Project is the road trip we've been making since 2009. In fact, the whole project began like that, when we started making these artistic road trips across borders in the continent. And so the first one we did was from Lagos to Bamako. And like I said before, when we started thinking about doing something in the continent, we realized that we don't even know the continent. And so we said, okay, we know that the continent is rich. When we read about it, when we listen to music, when we watch movies from the likes of Usman Semben and the rest of them, we get a sense of how complex and how rich the culture and embedded knowledge in the realities of the continent is. But we do not know the continent. We have been divided into Anglophones and Francophones and Lusophones, things like that. And so we thought to ourselves, okay, the first thing to do is to really begin to make road trips. First of all, to demystify this notion of the fact that you cannot travel in the continent by road. Like many of us were born not even knowing in our head that it's possible to cross from one country to the other by road in the continent. And it's not as if going by air is that easy or even, cheap. Yet, there are many of us who wouldn't even think of it. So the first attempt we made was, to travel from Lagos to Bamako in the context of the then Bamako photography encounters. And we came together as photographers. We said, okay, what we're going to do is just travel and along the way account for our experiences. And we set up a blog and got people to follow us on the journey virtually. So, this past 3 months, there's been a lot of social interaction online and virtually, but this is something that we have been encouraging and doing since 2009. And then we did this road trip that was very enriching. First of all, through the encounters, through the remarkable encounters, but also the fact that we were together, traveling together, working together, exchanging ideas together, learning why the landscape was changing. It was amazing. So we thought to ourselves, okay, this is really a project that we should explore some more. And that was how Invisible Borders came to be. Since then, we've done about 8 road trips, and we've gone to so many places. In 2014, we even made an attempt to travel from Lagos to Sarajevo, from Africa into Europe, crossing the border between Africa and Europe. And of course, this is to underscore the fact that to talk about Africa is not to speak about just the continent, that we wanted to account for, the extent to which Africa has permeated the world and, in fact, continues to permeate the world and be very instrumental in changing of cultures and affecting of cultures in a place like Europe. So we decided, okay, our Africa is not only about the continent, but is also the one that crosses from, the one that actually looks at that relationship between Africa and Europe. Now, in 2018, we made another road trip, which is what I'm showing you in the screen now, Lagos, Maputo. We didn't get to Maputo. We stopped in Rwanda. But it was, once again, a very, very eventful journey. And if you go in here, as has always been the tradition in the Invisible Borders project, you will see this is basically a repository of writings, photographs, film, audio in the way of podcast, and even, as you will see here, with Wani Esking, who is a musician from Goma. We even immediately made a music video. But this music video is not just a music video. It is, should I say, an intervention that somewhat holds something of that interaction between us and Goma, and how through this music video and of course this famous musician in Goma, opened up the space for us and we're able to enter and interact with the people. And I encourage you to spend some time on this website, because really that's where you really understand the power of the work that we do, and all the fruitful interactions, all the remarkable encounters that comes out of it. Yeah. So yeah. And then of course this whole notion of interacting, at the core of it is, like I said before, it's, I think we are very much preoccupied with the notion of borders. Yeah. And what that means, trying to understand it for ourselves, but also it is in relation to movement and how you cannot stop movement. I like the way that one of the writers in Invisible Borders, Kay Ugwede, who was talking that day, and she said something when we were in Bangladesh, because Bangladesh was the last road trip we made and the last collaborative project we did before the lockdown, where we were traveling with, or where we traveled around Bangladesh, in collaboration with photographers from Bangladesh, people from the Drake Network and Pachala, but also I think Chobimela. Yeah. And that was a very, very remarkable, beautiful exchange. And Kay said that what we are trying to do is to humanize borders. And I think that's a really powerful way to, briefly summarize what we've been trying to do for the past 10 years. But there is no way you can humanize borders without constantly coming back to this notion of relation. And relation here I use in the sense of Edward Glissant, who has articulated this in this idea, this notion of relation in his seminal work, The Poetics of Relation. He expanded on that and how it is about this sort of like rhizomic relationship, where you do not think of your identity as one thing, that your identity proves itself outside itself, that you should not be afraid to, let your identity work outside itself. It is not the kind of, so when you are looking for your roots, so he made this sort of like connection between the roots, which is the root of a tree, for example, and the root, which is where you come from. When someone says, when somebody says, where is your origin? He makes he made a relationship between both words, and say this is not the kind of root that kills other roots around it, but the kind that interacts in a rhizomic way. And I think that for us, this is what we have been trying to achieve with the Invisible Borders project. And that is why for us, it is not so much about Africa, the continent, but to what extent we can take that notion of collaboration. And again, when people talk about collaboration and the collective, they often leave it at that, outward, visible aspect of, oh, people come together to work together. But it goes beyond that, especially within the context of Africa, where collaborating is also going back and, should I say, making attempts to historicize some of the knowledge that we have today. Okay, many things that we are, or many conversations we're having today have been had before. Take, for example, the first Tax 77 that happened in Nigeria. It's a very big event. There's a lot of people today, younger generation of artists today who have no idea of, the kind of conversations that happen in First Tax 77. Maybe Uncle Jide will speak about that a little bit, maybe when he comes on, because I think you attended it, right? Yeah. And it was a very, very powerful event. Now, collaborating or being in the sense of collective also includes going back and saying to ourselves, how do we take things from here now? First Tax 77 happened, some conversations happened there, but now it is now upon us. What do we do with this knowledge? How do we take it forward? This process of regeneration. I think that this should happen more within the context of Africa. It's not just about who works with who now, but it's also how we try to historicize some of the experiences we're having now. Some of the knowledge that we think that is new is already there, and it's important that we also look for a way to connect with them and try to reimagine them, or see how we can make them part of our present as well as, of course, our future. So I think my time is up. So this is where I will stop. I guess I will say some more during the interaction with Uncle Jide.